Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about the anxiety that is running someone's life 24/7. Why it may seem that anxiety is never going away. My old self suffered every single day. I woke up dreading the day as soon as I woke up. And I want to really address that in today's video. Why is that the case? Why is anxiety there all the time? Now, you can look at it like your glass. If you're suffering from anxiety, your glass is overflowing with water. There's too much in the glass. You pour more water into the glass, it continues to overflow. Now, there are unknowns, there are situations every day that are stressful to anybody, right? For me right now, I have little to no water in my glass. So any unknown that I encounter during today, I can handle it without being sent into catastrophic thoughts or severe anxiety. I can handle it. And that's because I can afford to pour some water into the glass. But then I also have the tools and techniques to empty the glass so that tomorrow my glass will be empty. But for someone with anxiety who wakes up every day and they're extremely sensitized to the world, their glass is overflowing. So anything that comes their way during the day, they're going to be sent to extreme anxiety, to high emotion, right? To deal with that thing. And a lot of the time, they don't want to deal with it, so they stay home. They avoid. They don't want to confront because everything is just too overwhelming to them. They can't afford to pour any more water into the glass. And so that's really important to understand. There is a long history behind them of highly emotional, embarrassing, traumatic memories that have built up and built that water in that glass. So now they can't go through a day normally like somebody like myself who doesn't suffer from anxiety anymore, right? They are high emotion, high alert. Their anxiety response, their amygdala that initiates the fight, flight, or freeze response is active all the time. And now I want to get into why, right? Why? What's causing that amygdala to remain active 24/7, even while you sleep? Because even while I was sleeping, I had night terrors. I woke up in the middle of the night, and so my amygdala was active sleeping, and it's most active while you're sleeping. That's why a lot of anxiety sufferers can't really get a full night's rest. They wake up in the middle of the night stressing and worrying and with panic even, right? Like I used to. So, your anxiety systems are continuously active all day long, and your anxiety systems are continuously calculating what's dangerous and what's not dangerous in your environment. Like, for instance, right now, my amygdala is like, there's nothing to fear here, there's no danger here. But your anxiety response determines how dangerous the environment is in proportion to the amount of situations and unknown situations that you've experienced in your past that you've not confronted and dealt with yet. I want to repeat that. That's crucial to understand. The anxiety response determines how dangerous your environment is in proportion to how many unknowns you've experienced in your past that you haven't dealt with yet. So your body is essentially telling you something by having all of this anxiety and high emotion. My body was telling me that, Brad, you haven't dealt with why you're feeling this way. You haven't dealt with your past traumas. You haven't dealt with the lying and the cheating, right? All of these things, I haven't dealt with them. And these things build up, and your body will inevitably tell you, hey, pay attention to me. You haven't dealt with this situation yet. So I want to unpack that a little bit more so you have a clear understanding. You go through a moment in your life that's embarrassing, traumatic, and instead of figuring out what happened, what we do nowadays is we push it away. We ignore it. We sit in front of the TV. We go on social media. We go engage in impulsive pleasures just to feel good for the moment. We just ignore everything instead of dealing with it. And our bodies inevitably tell us, hey, there's this thing here, this underlying issue that you haven't dealt with from your past. And so the glass is overflowing. The glass is full of all of these moments from your past that have been highly emotional to you. Maybe it's from your childhood. Maybe it was from a day ago. But it's been building up. And now you're completely sensitized. Now the glass is overflowing. Now you can't even get up in the morning without catastrophizing over the day. And so my sensitization towards the world, suffering from anxiety, it was built up from years of lying, years of ignoring, years of running away from situations that made me feel anxious, made me feel stressed. I always ignored things. And so that's essentially running away. And I was building this fear. I was strengthening my fears. And so later in my life, when I wanted to go pursue the jobs that I wanted, what happened was my fear was built up for such a long time that when I went to go to work, I had severe anxiety. So I ran back to my safe zone at home where, everything was safe there. I've built up this fear, this running away circuitry over the many years. Now, because the person runs from that unknown, they become that victim, right? You're building that circuitry, the association between you and the unknown. And that's really interesting to understand. You build this association where every time you go into the unknown, you're going to run away because you've already built that connection, right? Any unknowns that come about. That's why when I was suffering severely and really sensitized, any unknown that would come about during the day, anything, I would immediately be high emotion. I would get a lot of emotion towards that thing. And so I'd run away. And it became the normal for me. Someone who's extremely sensitized and suffering from anxiety, that anxiety becomes their new normal. So when they go to recover, when people come to my channel and they talk to me about anxiety, they have a difficult time recovering, taking the first few steps. And that's because their anxiety has become their new normal. And so when they step outside of that normal into the unknown of recovery, they are met with that resistance. And so they run back into their anxiety dependent victim state. And so before I end this video, I really want to answer this question. Can you ignore this build up, these past traumatic, highly emotional memories from your past? Can you ignore them forever? Is there a way that we can ignore them? And the answer is no. There's no way you can ever ignore your past highly emotional, unresolved issues. There's no way. They will always come back in the form of an anxiety sensation, or that snowballs into anxiety disorder, and it even shows up in your dreams. You even ruminate over it during your day. Your body is always trying to tell you something. Like, for instance, today, if something happens to me today, an embarrassing moment happens to me, I will have to spend some time with myself and think what happened. Try and resolve it so I can let it go. I can release the weight. I can release the baggage. I have to sit with myself and say, okay, what happened? And I'll go through the event. What did I do to have this thing happen to me? What did I do? Okay, I did this thing, okay? And was it right? Was it wrong? It was wrong because I made a mistake, and I have to pick apart my mistake so that I don't let it happen to me again. Because the reason why your unconscious mind is bringing up these unresolved issues from your past is because it wants to solve them. It wants to release them. It wants to figure out the answer to them. It wants the answer. And so when we push them aside, when we push those unresolved issues aside, how are we going to figure out the answer? We're going to be continuously trying to solve it unconsciously. And so it builds up. That's the baggage. It builds up. The baggage builds up. All of these different events build up and build and build. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're highly sensitized to the world, right? And so it's time to release that baggage. There's a lot weighing you down. And I do that in my coaching sessions. I do that on my podcast. I talk about it here on these videos. I go over it in detail in my recovery program. Everything anxiety recovery related is here. And I hope that you find this content to be really powerful. And I hope that you embark on this healing journey, because it's the best journey that I've ever took, and it will be the best journey you've ever taken in your life. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And remember, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be the first to know. Namaste.